and see what his market is, guess what? I think he should probably do that. That sounds like a really good idea, because normally when people go to the market, they make a lot of money, and he should do that. And if they're offering him an extension lower than he thinks he can get, smart move. Test your value. Doesn't mean we have to fucking trade him.
Right.
Anyway, all right, let's talk about the cheating stuff. So I think we talked about it maybe 6 weeks ago as it was breaking, and now more stories coming out where even in the Washington Post, we're taping this on a Wednesday, and it just seems so much more elaborate and far-reaching than I think any of us realized. And I just can't believe these guys are like, "Your opening day Astros, here he is, Jose Altuve," and it's like all of these guys cheated, and I can't believe they haven't cracked down on any of these guys. Do you think it's because all these other teams cheated too, and it's like, well, we're not going to flag these guys who went 40 miles an hour over the speed limit because everyone else on the highway was going 40 miles over the speed limit, or is something weirder going on here?
Well, I'd say no to that, because I mean, obviously everybody knows that the steroid era, that steroids were rife throughout the league, and they had no problems flagging the guys in the McAfee report, or whatever the hell it was called, or the Mitchell report that was based on, what was the guy's name from New York? But that they used only this guy who was the clubhouse guy for the Mets as their source, and everybody that got their steroids from him or that he knew of was painted with that brush, and they did not do any further investigation when everybody knows that it was wider ranging than that. So they haven't felt reticent to just flag a handful of guys before. Allegedly, the claim was that if they went after individual players, then that gets the players' union involved because they filed grievances and it becomes a more protracted thing, and they didn't want the nightmare of that. But I mean, the way these guys have handled it, Altuve basically saying, "Well, we're going to go to the World Series now because nobody believes in us." Bregman appearing at their fan fest and doing this.
Yeah.
Well, the commissioner did his report to plead the fifth basically to every answer. And it's not going away, because I see stuff on Twitter where, like, other players, Trevor Bauer foremost among them, but other players now, I read a thing now with a guy for the Angels that said everybody in the sport knows they used buzzers in 2019. If there's all these different sources that claim that that's the gospel truth.
Yeah. And
that MLB swept that under the rug because that would be too much. And I think the Astros could not have handled it, the players, any worse. Marwin Gonzalez came out, who plays for the Twins now, and basically did an apology, but everybody else has put their head in their sand. And Justin Verlander, one of their team leaders, who's always chiming in on the rules of baseball on Twitter and not afraid to throw his opinions around, has been like a ghost, basically.
Yeah. If we went to Vegas and figured out how to count cards, and you stood 20 feet away from my table, and every time I was thinking about doubling down, you just started banging the trash can as loud as you could.
Right.
You would be escorted out of the casino in 10 minutes. Absolutely. I can't believe these guys went through 3 straight seasons doing this, and the other teams knew it, and nobody blew the whistle on anybody. That's why I feel like maybe everybody was cheating. They were just doing it the most egregiously and blatantly. Even your Yankees, where,
oh God, here we go.
Well, you've been prone to be cheaters in the past. You got in bed with A-Rod, one of the legendary cheaters of all time, to win your only World Series of the century.
Oh my God!
But the Yankees are like, let's let this go. Let's move on. It's in the past. Why aren't the Yankees matter?
Yankees are fired up. Aaron Boone at spring training today on Wednesday, he had a press conference, and they asked him directly, "Are you sure the Astros were not using buzzers in 2019?" And he said, "No, I'm not sure." He was not afraid to throw it around. That's the thing. These players, there's a fraternity, I'm sure, of baseball, and the omerta, if they didn't want to rat anybody out and all that. But I've been surprised, frankly, at how open these guys have been about, the Astros have cheated for years, and we've known it. Everybody knew it, and we did things to counteract it.
The single funniest.
Everybody was doing that. They said the Astros.
Well, I hope that was all it was, because obviously the Red Sox report hasn't come out yet. There's some good conspiracy theories on the internet right now. One of the ones that worries me is the Red Sox know they're about to get annihilated with whatever the report is, and that's why they're throwing away this season anyway.
possibility. They may also know that Betts had his best season ever in 2018 when he knew what pitches
come
were
on.
coming.
Stop
He only
it.
hit 260 last year, so they figure, why are we going to pay this guy a lot of money when he doesn't know
almost
what's
300.
coming?
He hit like 298.
Alex Cora was the known ringleader of this Astros thing that's shaken the sport to its core. And then he goes to the Red Sox next year, and they win the most games in their history. I mean, come on.
They brought in the buzzers after Alex Cora left in Houston. I was talking to my dad about this yesterday, and we were just, my dad's definitely, because he's living in Boston, there's a little more Kool-Aid being splashed on him there about like, well, he might not have signed here. And we were talking about it for 10 minutes, and then there was this pause, and my dad goes, we don't have a manager. It's like, it seems important. Spring training's about to start. We have no manager.
Didn't they name Ron Renicky the interim manager? But why is there an interim manager? Like, why don't you just hire a manager?
Yeah. It's like
why is he interim?
It's like if I just left the Ringer today and they're like, hey, we have an interim person running the Ringer. I'd be like, well, that's weird. what does that mean? But it does feel like he's coming back, though.
Do they think they're going to bring Cora back after whatever suspension he gets?
I think my
We're
guess
just ride
is
out the storm for 2 years and bring Cora back. Is that the plan?
My guess is if you suspend him, that's an admission of guilt. If you get in a room with them and you say, hey, man,
go away for 2 years.
Yeah,
we'll
I think it's going to be. I think it'll be 1 year, not 2. Look,
but see, Hinch got 1 year. Hinch got 1 year, and if you believe him, and I don't, but his claim is that he was smashing TV screens and he was trying to get them to stop, and they just wouldn't listen to him. And,
I'm sure that's all true.
Major League Baseball's report claims he was like he was very reticent about this whole thing.
Of course.
He was reluctant.
Yeah.
Whereas Cora was the ringleader of this thing, and that he was really the driving force as the bench coach and came up with some of this system. So, a lot of players who sang, I guess, pointed their fingers at Cora and Beltran, to be frank, and that Cora was the ringleader. So if he's the ringleader and the reluctant guy gets a year, I would think that the ringleader is going to suffer a worse suspension. Myself.
I love the reluctant guy who happens to be the boss of the ringleader. Get the fuck out of here. There's no way that happened.
Exactly.
What are they talking about?
And it's pretty convenient now, even like this Wall Street Journal article where they everybody points their finger now at Beltran and Cora, the two guys who are gone and lost their jobs, who aren't around anymore. It's in movies when somebody dies and they're like, he was the murderer, the dead guy, because he can't answer for himself anymore.
Right. I have here's my response to your accusation against the Red Sox. In 2018, a year you would say, well, maybe that was the year they cheated. Sandy Leone hit 177 in 288 at-bats. If he knew what pitches were coming and still hit 177, he should just retire from baseball right now.
Well, but he stinks,
Well, Jackie Bradley doesn't stink. Like, that guy was hitting 160 for half of 2018. Does that mean the information messed with his head? Like, I don't believe it.
Confused. Maybe he was confused by the signals. It took him a while to figure out the way the code worked. And also the Red Sox guys have gone on the record being like, fuck this. Like Bogarts and Devers, like there's been dudes that have been like, look, whatever this is, we weren't doing that. Whereas you look at like the Astros, the home away splits are legendary. Who's that guy? Brian McCann? He was like basically 1927 Bill Dickey at home. Well, even Altuve, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the funniest outcome of this will be if Altuve starts the season going 2 for 40 or something.
Absolutely.
Even if he starts out 0 for 10, it will begin. It will be done.
Absolutely.
I think
it's going to spiral out of control, and I don't think they have any idea of how bad it's going to be, because I think like other players, it's not just fans. The fans are fired up, but I think a lot of other players are fired up. I think they're going to be dusting dirt off their pants quite often.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think they're going to get buzzed more often than they know.
I was talking to Chuck
buzzed, no pun intended.
I was talking to Chuck Klosterman today, and I was saying how I actually was surprised this wasn't a bigger deal, this whole baseball thing. Like if it had happened in the NBA, if they had figured out, it just felt like it would have been 20 times bigger. And he was arguing it actually is a big deal. And it actually got people talking about baseball in January,
True.
February. And he thought it was like actually weirdly good for baseball. And now I'm thinking about it. I don't want to say he's changed my opinion yet, but it is fun to have a real villain in the league now.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like,
I never thought I would hate a team more than the Red Sox, given my
Yeah.
Yankee fandom, but the Astros are up there now. They really are. I still hate the Red Sox, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, I really dislike the Astros. I really, really dislike them. I dislike the team. I dislike the players. I really have my blood up for them. No question about it.
It's great. It's great. I think I'm actually looking forward to this season for a variety of reasons, except for the part that I really
except for the Red Sox part.
Except for the part where the Red Sox broke my heart. And I know Mookie's going to do incredible in for the Dodgers too. Like that, like lock that down. The Bellinger Mookie, that whole side of the outfield.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, you know, way up there. But we're taping this on a Wednesday. Zach Cram is writing a piece for The Ringer that is going up Thursday morning because we basically asked him to figure out how much of this is bullshit. How much money are they actually saving? And he's like got one of those Nate Silver
crunching
minds.
The numbers.
Yeah, he's going to actually figure out how much of this is bullshit. So hopefully he's going to figure out this is all smoke and mirrors craziness. And
I hope it comes out to be about $1,100.
They're able to buy one more TV for the clubhouse that AJ Hinch could smash.
That's right.
So we're taping this the day after the whole thing in New Hampshire, and
New Hampshire primary.
It was bad times for Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. Bad times.
Yeah.
Joe Biden putting on a clinic. It feels like he's filming a documentary in real time about how to destroy a campaign. We're now it's like, well, South Carolina, my campaign's just beginning. I think his campaign is over. And
yeah, I think it is too.
And now we're looking at Sanders, Mayor Pete, who again has no credentials whatsoever.
Right.
Amy Klobuchar, who I actually kind of like, who also had the knives haven't come out for her yet, but they're about to. They'll be dredging up everything from her past now. And then Bloomberg as the wild card. So if you had to guess right now, who is Emperor Trump facing in November, who would you pick?
I don't, it's crazy. I guess if I had to put money on it, I would put money on Bernie because, I mean, he the crazy, stupid Iowa caucus thing, he basically won the popular vote, but somehow didn't get the most delegates because of the way they apportioned them based on, I don't know what they apportioned them on, to be honest with you. And they still can't count the votes, but we'll call that a half a win.
Yeah.
He won in New Hampshire. He did not win as convincingly as he did 4 years ago against Hillary, but it's a much deeper field this year. He still won. So he won the first two.
Didn't he have like 1/3 the vote as he got in 2016? 1/3 of the people? I thought I saw that today.
I think the final numbers were I think he got around 27% of the vote, I believe. And then Mayor Pete was right behind him within a couple of percentage points. I think he got like 25-ish and change. So, and then Klobuchar was there with like 20 maybe. And
Yang Gang trailing the pack.
Yang Gang threw in the towel last night. So I would say it's probably going to be Bernie. He has the most passionate supporters. He has the most money. Well, he doesn't have the most money. I shouldn't say that because Bloomberg, who is a multi-billionaire, he's been spending money like it's going out of style. So he has the most money of his own. Bernie has the most money raised among his supporters, who are, feverish in their support for Bernie. Now, the establishment, such as it is in the Democratic Party, will do everything in their power to rig it against him and throw themselves against him. But if he does not get the nomination, having the most support and the most feverish supporters, I mean, they will literally burn the Democratic Party to the ground. So the Democratic Party elders, to the extent there are any, have to be like tearing their hair out, because if it comes down to a Bernie-Bloomberg battle, and Bloomberg is a billionaire who used to be nominally a Republican, and it's him against Bernie, who the true believers, that's where their heart is. That's going to be a mess.